You're now watching the Danny Mac Podcast on the Bet Rivers Network.
And off we go. The Bears have their list of opponents and their dates, and man, is it interesting. Welcome back to the Danny Mac Podcast. I'm Dan McNeil on the Bet Rivers Podcast Network. So glad you've decided to spend a few minutes with me as I go over the schedule for the 2024 Matt Eberflus Bears, the Caleb Williams and Rome Odunze Bears. And we'll get to Rome Odunze in just a little bit. He's already hurt. We're going to go massage his hamstring before this pod is over. The Bears are listed early on as 4.5-point favorites over Brian Callahan, the son of former Raiders head coach Bill Callahan, and his Tennessee Titans at Soldier Field. And I want to go over some of the props for the season, and you can check all of the props, get in early before numbers change and people start going in the common direction. You know how you get in on this. The early bird, you know what they say about him. Yes, I do. As a matter of fact, Tracy Flick, for those of you who've seen Election, you get that. This is a screwed up part of the first end of the schedule, a little bit more than the first half. I don't know what in the world makes the NFL think it's a good idea to have anybody play 9 straight non-division games to open the season. Now, that's too much. If you heard last year's show or have heard me at any point in the past talk about how I don't like opening with a divisional opponent, you might be thinking, okay, you can't have it both ways, Mac. If you don't want Bears and Packers on opening day, you got Bears and Packers. Okay, point taken. But with nobody using August the way coaches and all the teams used to use August, it makes all the sense in the world to give a team a week to get its sea legs underneath them, so to speak, and get functional. Because, you know, that didn't stop the Packers last year on opening day against Eberflus and the Bears, and he did it for the second straight year last year, not have his team ready. And the offensive coordinator didn't know what he wanted them to be. It's just stupid to have 9 straight non-divisional games to open the year. But that's how it goes. And I'll get into how tough the back end is. A couple of highlights on the front end of the year, front end of the schedule. Week 2, the Bears will be at Houston, and that is their first of a handful of national games. That's the Sunday night game in week 2. And they have the Jaguars in week 6 in London before reaching their bye in week 7. It goes Tennessee, Houston, Indianapolis at Indy, a home against the Rams, at home against the Panthers, rub the lamp. Ryan Poles is Aladdin, and David Tepper, owner of the Carolina Panthers, is the genie inside the lamp. How many more wishes will he grant the Bears general manager? Bears and Jags in London in week 6, and then the bye before going to Washington for week 8, their 7th game, at Arizona in week 9, home against the Patriots in week 10, before finally having a divisional game. It's in week 11 against the Green Bay Packers. That's too long to go without a divisional game. Now, check this out. The Bears have 3 straight home games. It's home against New England, home against Green Bay, and then home against the Vikings, weeks 10, 11, and 12. But boy, do they pay for it after that. The short week leading into the Thanksgiving Day date against the Lions. If you hate giving up your Thanksgiving for your football team, you're going to hate it this year too. Bears and Lions on Thanksgiving. That's their first, and it's on a short work week after the Vikings game at home. It's on a short week. Then they go to San Francisco for what will be the Fox game televised nationally. Kevin Burkhardt was talking about that with Rich Eisen on NFL Network's schedule release show. Mark that on your calendar each and every year. And I have been waiting for it, not trying to be flip here. I was looking forward to that. Okay, so at Lions, at Niners, and then at Vikings on Monday Night Football. Detroit, the defending divisional champion, and expected to be very, very good again this year with all those young players who made their presence known as first-year guys last year. The rookies, the tight end Sam Laporta, Jahmyr Gibbs, the running back out of Bama. That football team is stacked, and they're going to be even better this year. And then 49ers, they got fortunate twice in the postseason. They never should have beaten Green Bay. Green Bay missed a couple of kicks after outplaying the 49ers for 3 quarters. And the Lions were doing the same thing in the NFC title game, and Dan Campbell got silly, and he cost his team a game. And then at Minnesota on Monday Night Football, the third straight road game, the second straight road game in the NFL. Ask guys who participated in the sport. They'll tell you back-to-back road games, that's a bitch. And 3 straight road games, say what you want about the Vikings, and you're not sold on J.J. McCarthy. I get it. It's still a road game. It's still Monday Night Football. That has been unkind to the Bears historically. After the Lions game, which, again, is their third straight road game, Week 17, the Bears' 16th game at home against the Seahawks. That is a Thursday night game. And they conclude the year for the second straight year at Green Bay against the Packers in Week 18. So the Packers in Week 11 in Chicago. That's the first divisional game of the year. And then they wrap it up Week 18 at Green Bay as they did a year ago. Now, hopefully it's a much more favorable result. You might recall how bad that was for the Bears. Jordan Love was 27 out of 32. He completed the sweep against the Bears, in which those 2 games he threw 5 touchdown passes and was not intercepted. I think he only was sacked once in the 2 games. He thoroughly outplayed the Bears, just kicked their ass in Week 1 and again in Week 17. So 4 of the last 6 games for the Bears are national games. You get a Sunday nighter early with Houston. Then you get the Thanksgiving Day date against the Lions. You've got the 49ers, a national game in Week 14. The Vikings on Monday Night Football. The Seahawks on Thursday Night Football. It is going to be a bitch, the back end of the schedule for the Bears. Man, they had best start hot. They better make some positive strides early against the AFC South, Tennessee, Houston, Indianapolis. Boom, 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 before you get to the Rams in your first in-conference opponent in Week 4, and then your annual date, it seems, with the Carolina Panthers, David Tepper from the land of Agrabah. Charlotte, North Carolina is Agrabah, the Cave of Wonders, where the Panthers owner seems to be willing to grant any wish the Bears may have. Your wish is my command. We shall give you DJ Moore and flip picks with you gladly, since there's no consensus number 1, and we'll guess wrong on that number 1, so you can have the top pick in the draft again in 2024. David Tepper, you are a sweet, sweet man. Totals for the year on the Bears, and I am reluctant to move on this until I get a little bit more news. No, not on the hamstring injury to Rome Odunze, but to see who survives the first few weeks of the preseason. There will be an injury or 2. You can count on that. There may be some slow progress. So before I invest in season totals, I want to get a little bit closer to the deadline. However, right now is when the prices are good. And the way I look at the NFC North is this. It's the Lions division to lose. Green Bay is still very, very potent. And I look at Chicago as the third best team in the division, followed by the Vikings. Now, that could go either way. I would be surprised if either the Bears or the Vikings were able to finish atop the division. Who finishes bottom, I'm not so sure. I like the Bears to finish third, and that's a nice price right now at Bet Rivers. If you like the Bears to finish third, it pays plus 170. You feeling optimistic? Are you drinking the Kool-Aid because they're going to run the table in those 9 non-divisional games before they get to Green Bay? Okay, that's a nice return on your investment. That pays 350 plus 350 for the Bears to finish first, for them to finish second, plus 330, finish in the cellar. Matt Eberflus's team is plus 285. The total on wins right now for the Bears is 8.5. With the over being the favorite, you have to pay $1.50 on that. It's minus 150. The under players are getting the price at plus 123. I'm inclined to go over. And I'm not going to go over the schedule, my friends, a la Jiggets and North from the 90s on the score. But I think they should win 9 games. I think it's a colossally disappointing year if they don't. I thought they were going to win 9 games last year. They should have. They wound up winning 7. 2 of the losses were games in the final 2 minutes when their win probability was in the 90 percentile. No excuse for dropping those games. So I think they can win 9 or 10 games. And again, when you have the 1st and 9th picks in the draft and you've upgraded your defense last year via free agency with the 2 linebackers, Edwards and Edmonds, and the trade for Montez Sweat, you get that secondary, another year of seasoning. Gordon and Brisker now coming up in year number 3. The kids who came in last season, the corner from Miami, Terrell Smith, number 26, from Minnesota. I mean, there was some depth in that secondary. And, of course, Jalen Show Me the Money Johnson is returning with his bloated contract. So the Bears are going to be a good football team. They should win 9 games or more. I'm going to go ahead and plunk down on that. I don't like paying the 150, but I think that is a good play. As far as the defending champions go, the Chiefs are 3-point favorites on opening night against the Baltimore Ravens. That is Thursday night football, and we get a treat this year. There's a Friday night game, in case you didn't hear. Green Bay is taking on the Eagles. Friday, that game is in Brazil, and Philadelphia is listed as an early 1.5-point favorite. Other division games to open the season, the Vikings are at the Giants, and the Lions are home on Sunday Night Football in Week 1. They're a 3.5-point favorite against the Los Angeles Rams. This was fun. I look forward to talking with more guests in the days and weeks ahead about the Bears as they continue their OTAs and get ready for what is expected to be an incredibly exciting season. The decibel level is cranked up locally, as it should be. It is not overstating it when you suggest, from a skilled position standpoint, the Bears not only are better than they've ever been, they have the best receiving core in football. Now, it's very possible Odunze flops. It's a high miss position in the first round. Only quarterback, I think, produces less results than wide receiver, something like 14%. In a story I read recently from USA Today. And if you look in the last 10 years of the draft, you'll find as much talent in the second round sometimes as you will in the first. Let me offer you Devontae Adams of the Green Bay Packers, now the Las Vegas Raiders. But it's going to be fun. You should be excited. I'm excited. And we are not all that far away from gearing up to the Bears and playing their Hall of Fame game date against Houston as Steve McMichael, Devin Hester, and Julius Peppers gain entry into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. I want to thank Adam Delavitt, who is the director of the Bet Rivers Podcast Network, for keeping me in the game, and also Sam Michael, who's my executive producer. Randy Merkin takes care of all of the guests we bring you on the Mac Podcast, and we thank Alex Pastor and Troy Mocker for everything they do, research, development, and social media. I'm Danny Mack, and I will be flapping gums about the great game of football very, very soon. Take care.